Hey guys, it's the disembodied voice of Russ with Winged Saber Historical Fencing. Now, as we focus on things that people can practice about solo, it is really important to remember that we're not talking about tactical drills here. You can't learn tactical drills solo. For that, you want to go find bouting footage, put it on half or 1/4 speed, and see if you can understand what the action is. Now, the better quality videographers, which I am not, will slow it down and show you where the hits are. That's not the part you should really pay attention to. What you want to pay attention to is who's controlling the tempo. That is to say, let's make it less abstract, who is in charge of the flow of the exchanges? Who's dancing to who else's tune? All right? Now, when you think about stepping and cutting, I cut, I cut, I cut. We've talked before about make the saber feel like it's pulling your body, because if you do this, you're asking to get victimized, right? That cut's got to come right out. If it's a direct cut, it's got to come right out. You must present this threat ahead of time. You will see over and over again, even with skilled opponents, small errors in the domination of the tempo give people openings. What I want you to practice solo, you're having your alignment. That means you can feel the fabric here being lightly in contact with the fabric there. That makes you know, oh, I didn't do this. I didn't align the arm towards the shoulder. Can we fight from here? Yes, we can absolutely fight from here. But it means if I have to do a deep parry over this way, I either have to throw my arm over or I have to commit a great big over parry, which renders all of this a very easy target. So you practice your cut, you practice your cut, you practice your cut. And as you step backwards, you think about giving space to the opponent's initiative. As you come backwards, they're attacking. You're stepping backwards to exactly where the bind you want is. You're stepping into your cut. You're stepping into your cut. So you're shadow boxing an invisible you who's just barely better at dominating the flow of the stepping and cutting as you are. So you have to make your form perfect so you don't get all kinds of little inconsistencies that your invisible doppelganger can capitalize on. Most of the time when people shadow box, they do just the opposite. They shadow box an imaginary inferior opponent where they're landing the blows all the time. Best shadow boxing is you're shadow boxing your invisible phantasmal peer who covers just as well as you cover, who sees your stuff coming just as well as they see you see their stuff coming. All right? So, bear this in mind when you step and cut. Mechanical repetition conditions the body. If you do it to exhaustion, you will eventually get mechanical efficiency. For those of you who have the book Fighter's Friend, I have a whole little subchapter about how that process works. The problem is we tend to break people along the way. If you go through the 1,000 jab night version of training, if you stumble onto somebody who has a repetitive injury, they're going to fall out of training because that style of training aggravates that and knocks them out. We don't want that. Instead, you need repetitions. You need metric shit tons of repetitions. That's 12% larger than an imperial shit ton of repetitions. So now you know that. Learning. But you want them to be mindful. You want your forebrain engaged. You want to be visualizing what you and your partner are doing to play with you. So, Kat, can you grab a boffer and come on in?
Oh, bet.
So Kat's over here, and we're just going to micro play a minute. Okay? So neither one of us are really going to go for the kill, and we've got a very constrained space, so our distance is much too small. But I want you to watch how, when we're covering these angles, dynamic parry. Notice how there's this little give and take of distance. And if you watch closely, you'll see how that little give and take distance helps cat to set up the next attack, because it puts the exchange where it needs to be for that riposte to go bang and be unavoidable. Like I cheated and actually went for the kill there. Go back and rewind it. Look at our body positions. Second thing, we have the buffer.
Yep.
I'll ask you to run camera for this for a second. In principle, here or here is a correct parry. Look at the distance. Unless your opponent has a saber that's 3 inches longer than yours, this distance will always hold true, no matter how tall they are and no matter how short you are. Kat can talk all about what it's like fencing 6'5", 6'6" fencers when she doesn't hit 6 herself. The distance between the hands is functionally the same if you have matched weapons. That means no matter what your reach is, if you get parried, you are in danger. One of the reasons modern fencing likes to, quote, pull people to fall short is that they don't want this similarity of distance. That similarity of distance means that whoever is better in the bind then can win. If you can manage distance instead and not have to care about all that bind work, you can focus on the thing that's much more in your control. You're focusing on one thing at a time. That's great for sport fencing. Take a single thing that is distance management, work the crap out of it. That doesn't work for us. We're not fencing on a piste. We have to deal with two-dimensional positioning, the going offline against cuts. Those of you who are reenactment type fencers or more historically inclined have to deal with a wide variety of sabers you might be using. If you were to pay attention to one thing to try to dominate, it would not be the distance, even though it's a universal that can't be ignored. It would be the tempo. If you focus on dominating the tempo, they can't hit you while you're in charge of the flow. While you're in charge of the flow and they're dancing to your tune, you are safe, assuming you don't do something dumb. So, when you are stepping and cutting, think about what your opponent might be doing to you. In fact, a quote from another gentleman whose grandfather was a hussar about why they don't hit the head. It's all well and good to think about what you're going to do to them, but what are they doing to you in the meantime? I'm not going to give the exact original Hungarian because I don't actually quite remember it. In fact, he might have told it to me in English, so I won't front that way. I never met the guy's granddad. Control the tempo. You control the tempo by controlling the flow, by controlling not just distance but position. If Kat catches my flank, I, by definition, must either go for some trick shot like the bee sting around the back thrust, which will fail because she has position, or I have to spend a tempo trying to reestablish that position. During that tempo, if she's on the ball, I get hit. So this is something you can practice in your solo cutting. Shadow box out your phantasmal friend who wants to help hit you. All right, have fun and go do the thing. We've got more videos and content coming, so if you liked what you saw and it was useful for you, please stab the like button, /subscribe, and punch the little bell icon so that you're notified immediately when new content comes available. Thanks, and go do the thing.